Here's a common question I get asked a lot. Should I use the builder's lender? They're offering $5,000 in closing costs if I use their preferred lender. Is it just a gimmick where they jack up the rate in order to be able to give me $5,000 in closing costs? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to compare mortgage deals. I'm going to give you the truth and the details. I've heard some loan officers try to tell me that the price of money is the same to every mortgage company, so shopping around is a complete waste of time. That's total BS. They want you to play the trust game. If they get you to trust them, then they can charge you as much as they think they can get away with. Don't let that happen to you. Be a smart mortgage shopper. Seen it especially with minorities. Maybe the buyer is new to the country and doesn't speak English well. They hook up with a loan officer they feel they can trust because they speak their language. Then I see the numbers at the closing table and I'm amazed at how much they're being ripped off. The sad thing is that the buyer doesn't even realize it. Now, how much money can you save by shopping around? If you can lower your interest rate by 0.5% over 15 years, you can save over $57,000. So let me show you that right here. I did a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. So a 625,000 home price, 20% down, so a $500,000 mortgage, 30-year fixed rate from 7% all the way down to 6% and everything in between. Here's the monthly payment. At 7% is 33.27. If you get a deal of 6.5%, your monthly payment is going to be $167 less per month. So you multiply that over 15 years, that's 180 months, you're going to save $29,911. Now, the interesting thing about this, you not only have the monthly savings, but the way the amortization schedule is set up, a lower interest rate is going to have you paying down the mortgage faster. So after 15 years, at 7%, you're going to have 370,000 left on the balance. But at 6.5%, only 362,000 is going to be left. So you're going to be saving just there in the principal amount over $7,000. So you add that 7,000 plus this 29,900, you get a total savings of $37,210 after 15 years. That's quite significant. But then being smart, I would take that $166 a month savings, and if you put that toward principal, so you're acting like you just got a 7% at this payment, take those savings, you add it to principal, and then the balance of your loan after 180 months or 15 years is not only 370,000, it's down to 312,000. So you're going to have more $57,739 more in equity, and that's going to go in your pocket when you sell your home. Now, what if you got 1% less? So you got a loan at 6% over 15 years, doing what I just said, you can save $110,000, and even a 0.25%, down to 6.75. You're talking just under $30,000. So that's a lot of money that you can save just by shopping around. So the next question is, okay, how do I shop around? How do I get the best deal? Now, the simple thing is, I always tell people, and a lot of people get this wrong. They'll call up one lender, they'll say 7%, and what are your fees? And that's 7% with $3,000 in fees. They'll call up another lender, 6.75 with $5,000 in fees. So which one is better? Well, it all depends. Now, the government came out with a calculation to try to make that comparison easy for people. I think Ralph Nader was a proponent of that, and it's called the APR. APR is annual percentage rate. So they take the rate and the fees and they spread it out over the length of the loan, and they come up with your average percentage rate. Uh, but I've heard from different people, and I found this online here at a lender site. Unfortunately, the APR doesn't include all the closing fees, and lenders are allowed to interpret which fees they include. Fees for things like appraisals, title work, doc prep are not included, even though you'll probably have to pay for them. So it's so one lender might calculate APR one way versus another one. So it's not really a good comparison there. So that isn't the way to go. Um, so what what my way of doing it is you have to, if you're comparing two lenders, pick an interest rate that you want. Let's say 7%. And call up lender one. Okay, what are your total fees for a mortgage, a 30-year fixed rate at 7%? You'll say $3,000. Then you call up lender number two and say, he might say, well, our rate is 6.75. You say, no, I want a interest rate of 7%. What are your fees on a 7% loan? And then it might be $4,000. So then, the interest rate is the same. You're just looking at the 3,000 versus 4,000 in fees. And that's how you compare apples with apples. You got to have the comparison with a specific interest rate. And let me show you, I'm going to show you why that's important in a second. Um, but first, you want to know what the average rate is right now. And there's a good site, Mortgage News Daily, that I go to. And this is the chart of the 30-year fixed rate over 1 year, 5 year, or 50 years. So 1 year, you can and kind of see how much interest rates changed. Like here, there was 7.1% down to what is 6.6% in just a couple days. So interest rates fluctuate up and down, up and down, up and down. So that's one key point is when you're comparing two lenders, come and you want to know which one is better, you got to make the comparison on the same day and even the same time of day in the morning or the afternoon um, the average rate changes real quickly depending on the market. So you want to do it at the same time of day, at least the same day. And here you want to know what the average is. Right now it's 6.5%. And that way, like if you're not ready to lock, you're just shopping around, getting a feel for who has the better rates. A lender, if they know you're not ready to lock, they can tell you anything. They can tell you, give you a real low rate and over the phone, and then 3 weeks later, when you call them, it's a much higher rate, and they'll just say, "Oh, the market changed. Your interest rates went up." Well, you never know whether they're lying or not. So you need a site like this to kind of see, okay, on that day when I called you last, they were 6.9%. And now you're saying interest rates went up, but now I see they actually went down. That's BS. So you need a site like this to kind of keep keep people accountable. Um, and then what I wanted to show you here too is, yeah, so 6.5. Now you can go to an online mortgage company like Rocket Mortgage. They're very popular on the same day here. So their average 30-year fixed rate, they're offering 6.5, but it's with 2 points. So Rocket Mortgage seems to be on the high side a lot. Or you can go to a place like Nerd Wallet. Let me just go back here a little. Nerd Wallet. And they give you all these quotes here. And there's other sites like that, bankratemonitor.com, lendingtree.com. And I did this shopping a few years ago when I was refinancing my personal home. And what I found is the rates you see here advertised, like per mortgage here, the APR 6.18. When you go to their, and this is on nerdwallet.com, when you go to their actual site, that is 6.18. Here's Better Mortgage. This is their site. Their six APR is 6.48. So what they advertise on some of these comparison sites turns out not to be what they're actually offering. There's always some little detail or whatever. And then the mistake I made was I went through here, and here you can go explore more. You begin answering all these questions here. Um, and it takes like 5 minutes to go through all this. And what you're going to do is you'll get to a final page after you spent 5-10 minutes answering all these questions, and it's going to say, oh, to wrap this up, to get a personalized quote, put in your email address or phone number, and then some salesperson is going to call you up, and 9 times out of the 10 they're going to start you right from the beginning, asking you a series of questions again. It's going to take you 10 or 20 minutes to finally get an interest rate out of them. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be much different than this rate that you saw on this comparison site. So then you're going to do the same thing with the next one, and you're going to go through the same routine. It's going to take you 20 minutes to answer all the questions. And if you're just shopping around, they are good at sales. Then you'll say, oh, I'm not ready to buy for another month. Well, they're going to be calling you day after day after day. And if you're on some sites, your contact information is going to be given out and sold to these other companies. So all these other companies you didn't even inquire about are going to be calling you day after day, trying to sell you, and it's going to drive you crazy. And at least that's what happened with me there, and I would never do that again. It just so much time and energy doing that. So, so how does one go about shopping here? So, one thing I like is Provident Funding. Let me show you here. This is a real good site. I love their calculator. And here, as you can see, you can put in your credit score, 780 or above, or all these other different levels. And that determines what, that's a big part in what interest rate you're going to get. And what I like to do, you can show all rates here, and you'll see what you want to do is find out what they call is the par rate. And you see this, all these different interest rates with all these different fees. So you're looking for the par rate, which is the no, right here, no points or credits. So that's 6% in this here. Now, what you will see is if you want a no closing cost loan, you say, hey, I don't want to pay closing costs. They can do that. And the way they do that is you see at no points or credits, it's 6%. At 6.5%, they'll give you $4,375 in credits, which are used against your closing costs. So or if you go 7%, it's $8,125. So yeah, you can get a no closing cost loan, but it's not going to be at 6%. It's going to be at 7% or 6.5%. So the other thing is it can go the other way. They can give you a 5.75% loan, but in this case, it's going to cost you 1 point or $5,000. And then this could be, they might say no points, but $5,000 in some sort of fee is going to be included in your final total. So don't be tricked by that. So you can get as low as you want. You can get down to 5.25 if you pay $14,000, $14,375 up front. Now it's like, well, that's great. I'm going to save $230 a month in payments. Why wouldn't I do that? Well, it just depends. You got to do the payback, the break even calculation. You're paying 14,375 up front and you're saving $230 a month, how many months will it take to add up to the 14,375? Usually I found the break even point is somewhere between 4 and 7 years. So if you're going to only live there for 3 years, it doesn't make sense to pay all that money up front when you won't get payback until 7 years from now. Now, if you're going to live there for 15 years, yeah, it might make sense. If you really know that you're going to be there 15 years, pay $14,000 up front. Then after year seven, maybe the final 8 years you're there, you're going to be saving $230 a month in interest. So it just depends on your situation and what your plans are. Um, so let me just see here. Yeah, so let me show you the the reality of what you're going to experience here. So let's say you're talking with two lenders, and here these are sheets that I was working with a buyer who had a builder lender offering $10,000 in closing costs or concessions if they use the preferred lender versus my buyer had their own lender that they were trusted a whole lot. So they she got these worksheets, they call them, for 7.375. This one's 7.375. But you look at all these numbers, this is a lot of numbers, and it's like, holy cow, how do you make sense? And they're all figure these are total, the numbers are totaled upwards, these numbers are totaled downwards. So you go, okay, so a lot of times I see buyers will go, well, just tell me what I have to bring to closing, and that's what I'm going to compare. So they go estimated check at closing. This one is 22,000. This one is 80, cash to close 28,000. So this one must be better, Tim. Only 22,000. Maybe, maybe not. It just depends in the details here. So do not this is meaningless here. Cash to close, cash to close. This is meaningless right now when you're comparing lender to lender. When you get ready to know what the final numbers are, the amount of cash you bring to closing, yeah, cash to close is a very important number. But when you're comparing lender to lender, most of these things are oranges. You want to compare apples to apples, and there's only like a handful of fees here. Origination charges, points, origination fee, appraisal fee. So you total those up, and over here there's no origination fee, but there's an underwriting processing fee and an administration fee of $1,500. So don't get hung up on the names of the labels. It really doesn't matter. They name them all points, origination fees, processing fee, underwriting fees. It doesn't matter. You just total them up and compare who has the lowest fees at the same interest rate. That's all there is to it. But you got to really know what these fees are because you might accidentally add in transfer taxes to these fees. And the transfer taxes here is just a regular thing that no matter what loan you get, you're going to pay the same Georgia transfer fees. And when you're looking at these numbers, you know, all these other numbers are estimates that the lender has no control over, like what the property taxes are or how much you're paying in homeowners insurance. You're going to be shopping around for that. So what they show for home insurance on these are just estimates. So, one lender might estimate one number, another one might estimate lower, but that has nothing to do with who's the better lender. And it's surprising here. A lot of these, like in here, they have the state intangible tax. I don't think they have the intangible tax over here. They just have the transfer fee. And here, there's 3 months of property tax in escrow. Over here, they're saying 6 months, but it's going to be the same no matter who you use. So don't get caught up in all these numbers. Just know which lender fees are associated with the loan and compare those fees to those fees at the same interest rate. So the thing is, then when you usually get these confusing worksheets early on, but then when you go ready to lock, they'll send you this federal form, the loan estimate, and here they'll have the real numbers, and all the numbers should be included here. So the origination fee is 1130. This is the same lender as this lender here, but in the official federal form. 1130 origination fee, that's what they were quoting here. 614 appraisal fee, 614 appraisal fee. So these are the lender related fees here. And now then they have these closing attorney fees, the the homeowners insurance, the title insurance fees. So those are all included that you're going to have to pay. But there are things that you can shop for. Here they come. The estimated cash to close is 27,000, where originally they were saying 28,000. But it's funny how a lot of these numbers are added. Like over here, they didn't have this closing attorney fee of I guess the settlement agent fee of 695. They didn't have the title search of 225. They only had title attorney fee of 65 and settlement agent fee of 75 over here. So anyway, this is if you can get this up front, this is going to make your life easy because then you just go for loan costs A and B, add those up and compare. And again, remember to keep the interest rate the same. So let me see here. What else do I want to show you here? So, yeah. So the things that affect um, the loan rate, the mortgage rate, is credit score. As you saw, well, let me show you. That's the other thing I have. I have a spreadsheet on. This was I did in the Provident funding. I put in the different credit scores to see how it affected the points. So at 780 or above credit score was the 0 points. If you had under 700, 699 or below, the points went up to 6875. So if you're like right at one of these bubble levels, if you have a 779. If you can get that credit score up 1 point, you can save $1,250. So that might mean paying off a credit card, paying off a car loan, or something like that. So the more you can get your credit score above here to 780, the better. And sometimes the best rates are not 780 and above. Sometimes it's as low as 720 and above. The other thing that you want to check out with the different lenders is uh, what they call a float down. Now, like if you lock in at 7% and 3 weeks later, say a week before closing, rates go down to 6.5%. It's like, how do I get that 6.5%? Well, if you're locked in at 7%, you're out of luck there. I guess you can always cancel your loan and and you won't be able to restart with that same lender. You're going to have to go to another new lender. And probably if you only have a week before closing, there's not going to be enough time to start out with a new lender. So, um, what you can do, sometimes they have float down programs. They're saying like if rates go down, um, by a certain amount, you have a one-time option to lock in at a lower rate before closing. And a lot of times it won't be all the way down to what the current interest rate is. It'll be somewhere a little bit above there, but it will be lower. And the other thing is the float down rate, if they have that, usually is going to cost something more. It's going to be more fees, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 more. But check whether um, that's available because that's a nice little thing, especially with rates expected to fluctuate a lot. That's a nice extra to have available to you. Um, Let me just see here. Oh, the other thing that I had always wondered how much money is involved in originating a loan. How much do lenders make? So, if they're making only $1,000, it's not going to be worth much to try to negotiate. But what I've heard through the grapevine from some people is usually the average revenue from a loan is 3%. So, like on a $500,000 mortgage, whereas the revenue, when they go to sell that loan, they're trying to make a $15,000 profit. So, what happens is usually the lenders don't hold on to the loans, they sell them in the open market. So, if they sell a 7% loan, they're going to get, say, $15,000. If they sell 7.25 loan, they're gonna, since that's a higher interest rate, it's gonna be more valuable. So they're gonna make maybe $20,000 on that. Or if they uh, take a loan and try to sell it on the open market at 6.75%, they're gonna get maybe only $10,000 on that loan. So depending on what they get you locked into a higher interest rate, the higher interest rate, the more money they're going to be able to make when they sell it on the open market. So, and that amount is about what I hear is $15,000. Now, from that $15,000, more than half of that goes to the loan officer as their commission. And then they have to pay their management staff, the processors, the office rent, advertising. Then, a lot of times, if they're affiliated with a real estate brokerage, affiliate fees or costs involved in being an affiliate of a real estate company. So, like, uh, a lot of times a real estate brokerage will do an affiliation with a lender and say, hey, you're going to be our go-to lender. We have 1,000 agents in our offices. And, if we talk you up and we give you office space in our office, well, you're going to be able to get a lot of business from our agents. And for that, so it's going to be, but it's not free to them. For that, they're going to have to be willing to pay certain expenses, like they're going to fund different events that might be going on in the office, different parties going on in the office, or maybe they have to do free continuing education. So there's a bunch of costs involved. So, and how do they make up for that? Well, they're going to have to um, charge higher fees and interest rates because it's the cost of customer acquisition cost is going to be higher for them. So, what I found is the best deals are the mortgage brokers who try to keep their costs and overhead as low as possible. Maybe they work in a small office. Maybe they're working out of their basement. Maybe they don't do any advertising. They just rely on real estate agents to refer buyers to them because they offer great service and very low competitive rates. So if they don't have to advertise and they just pass those savings on in low rates and low costs, then agents are more likely to refer them new buyers to them because they take care of them with great service and low rates. So if you're going with a national brand, just know that all that advertising and all that image advertising, all those fancy offices, it gets that money comes from somewhere, and it's usually the the buyer paying higher rates or higher fees. So anyway, that's my. I work with several really good mortgage brokers that keep their overhead expenses low. I also work with several credit unions. You really should check out some of the credit unions because the nice thing about a federal credit union or a Georgia state sponsored credit union is that you don't have to pay the Georgia intangible tax at closing. And that's for like a $500,000 loan. That's $1,500 just there. For whatever reason, you don't have to pay that with a credit union. So that's something definitely to check out. I have a credit union that is offering a 15-15 adjustable rate mortgage where it's the same payment as a 30-year mortgage, but in the first 15 years, the the interest rate is fixed, and after that, it can change above that in year 16. But right now, this credit union I think their fixed rate is 6.125. Their 15-15 adjustable is 5.125% for the first 15 years. So that's an amazing deal there. And the other thing is, I like mortgage brokers because they have 20, 30, 40, 50 lenders in their database that they could put in there and check out your specific financial details of who is offering the best deals for your profile. And sometimes lenders change. Some lenders are looking for a certain profile and they're very competitive in the rates versus another company who doesn't like that profile. And for that profile, the rates are going to be higher. And sometimes one lender offering great rates, 6 months later, their rates stink. So it's very dynamic. Just depends. I don't know exactly why, but things keep changing there. So that's because you've been banking at Bank of America for a long time doesn't mean that you're going to get the best rate there. A lot of times, too, a mortgage broker can go to- through the wholesale division of that national brand bank and get a much better deal than you can walking into their front door and working on the retail section of that bank. So anyway, I hope that was, let me see if I have anything else there. No. So I hope that was educational. I know I'm long-winded again, but I really like um, comparing those loans, and you can save a ton of money. And that's what it's all about. You save that money, and that's how you build up generational wealth. So that's one of the things I do as a buyer's agent. You hire me as your buyer's agent. I'll help you through that process of shopping for a great lender, giving you access to lenders that you might not even have known about to get you that low rate, and then I'll help you compare one deal to the other to make sure that you're getting the best deal possible. All right. So if you like that, give me a call. I'd love to work with you. All right. Take care.